The sharp sound of a heart monitor echoed through the emergency room as a battered man slowly opened his eyes after a devastating highway accident. Everything around him felt blurred until a doctor leaned over him, gently checking his injuries. She suddenly froze, her hands trembling ever so slightly as recognition filled her eyes. After a long moment of silence, she leaned closer and softly whispered, "Do you remember me?" The question struck deeper than any of his broken bones, because somewhere beneath years of forgotten memories, he recognized the warmth in her voice long before he remembered her face. If you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances still exist, please take a moment to like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel. Every bit of support helps our community continue sharing stories that remind us the human heart is capable of extraordinary healing. At 36 years old, Callan Mercer had become the kind of man people admired from a distance. He owned a successful construction company, employed hundreds of workers, and had built schools, hospitals, and community centers across several states. To everyone around him, he looked confident and fulfilled. Yet beneath that polished exterior lived a loneliness he rarely admitted, even to himself. His parents had passed away within a few years of each other, his engagement had ended after his former fiancée admitted she loved someone else, and work became the only thing keeping his heart occupied. Every morning he buried himself in blueprints and meetings, believing success could silence grief. One bright autumn afternoon, while driving home after inspecting a community housing project, another vehicle suddenly crossed into his lane. Callan instinctively swerved to avoid a collision, sending his truck into a roadside barrier. Though emergency responders arrived quickly, he suffered a concussion, several broken ribs, and a badly injured shoulder. Conscious but disoriented, he was rushed to the nearest hospital. Inside the emergency department, Dr. Brielle Hawthorne calmly prepared to receive another trauma patient. She had worked through countless emergencies during her 12-year medical career and rarely allowed emotions to interfere with her professionalism. But as the nurses rolled Callan into the treatment room, she glanced at his face and felt time stand still. It was him. The quiet boy from high school whose kindness had shaped her life more than he ever realized. Callan, however, had no memory of her. Not yet. Years earlier, they had attended the same small-town high school. Brielle had been painfully shy, wearing oversized sweaters and hiding behind books after years of being bullied for a childhood facial scar that gradually faded with age. Most students barely noticed her unless they wanted someone to tease. Callan had never joined the bullies. Instead, he quietly defended classmates who were overlooked, carried heavy boxes for teachers, and treated everyone with the same respect. He never confessed the crush he secretly had on Brielle. He simply admired her intelligence from afar. Unknown to him, Brielle had admired him just as deeply. During their senior year, Callan anonymously paid for Brielle's graduation field trip after learning her widowed father couldn't afford it. He never told anyone. Brielle eventually discovered the truth through a school secretary who accidentally revealed the donor's name. That act of kindness became the reason she never gave up on her dream of becoming a doctor. Before graduation, she planned to thank him. But life had other plans. Callan's family moved away within days after his father accepted a new job, and the two never spoke again. Now, nearly 2 decades later, fate had unexpectedly reunited them in the emergency room. Over the next several hours, Brielle remained focused on treating his injuries. She ordered scans, monitored his condition, and ensured he received the best possible care. Yet every time she looked at him, memories returned of a quiet teenage boy who had changed her future without expecting anything in return. The following afternoon, sunlight streamed through Callan's hospital window as his memory cleared. Brielle entered for another examination, smiling gently. When their eyes met, she softly asked the question that had been waiting 20 years. "Do you remember me?" Callan studied her face. At first, nothing came. Then he noticed the familiar kindness in her eyes. Suddenly he remembered the girl who always sat near the library window reading medical textbooks long before anyone else knew what they wanted to become. He remembered lending her his notes after she missed school caring for her sick father. He remembered wishing he had been brave enough to tell her how extraordinary she was. Emotion filled both their faces as decades of distance disappeared in a single afternoon. Over the next several days, while Callan recovered, they spent quiet afternoons talking whenever Brielle's schedule allowed. They laughed about awkward high school memories, favorite teachers, forgotten dreams, and the strange paths life had taken. Callan learned Brielle had never married because caring for her father through years of illness had become her priority. After his peaceful passing, she devoted herself entirely to medicine. Brielle learned that despite Callan's financial success, he often felt strangely empty. One afternoon she admitted something she had carried for years. The anonymous gift that allowed her to attend that graduation trip had done more than pay for a bus ticket. It had restored her belief that kindness still existed. Whenever medical school became overwhelming, she remembered that someone had believed in her before she believed in herself. Callan was speechless. He had completely forgotten the small act. To him it had been insignificant. To her it had changed everything. After leaving the hospital weeks later, Callan returned to work with a different perspective. Instead of measuring success by profits, he began expanding projects that genuinely served struggling communities. Brielle occasionally joined those efforts, organizing free health screenings at construction sites and neighborhood centers. Working together felt natural. Not rushed. Not forced. Simply right. Their friendship slowly deepened into something neither wanted to define too quickly. Then another unexpected challenge arrived. A powerful storm severely damaged the small town where they had first met. The old high school, library, and community center suffered extensive destruction. Without hesitation, Callan offered his construction teams. Brielle coordinated medical volunteers. Former classmates returned from across the country. For weeks the community rebuilt together. During one volunteer afternoon, they discovered the old library storage room still standing. Hidden inside was a dusty cardboard box containing forgotten student letters written during senior year. Among them was an envelope addressed to Callan. Inside rested a handwritten letter Brielle had never mailed. She had written about her gratitude, her dreams, and the quiet affection she had been too afraid to express. The letter ended with one heartbreaking sentence. It simply said she hoped life would someday bring them back to the same place. Neither of them spoke after reading it. Some moments are too meaningful for words. Months later, the rebuilt school opened its doors with a beautiful community celebration. The principal invited both Callan and Brielle to speak to graduating seniors. Instead of talking about careers or achievements, they spoke about kindness. About how a single unnoticed act could completely redirect another person's future. About choosing compassion even when nobody was watching. Standing together beneath the bright afternoon sun, surrounded by students preparing for their own journeys, they realized life had quietly fulfilled a promise neither had expected. Not because everything happened according to plan, but because hope patiently waited through every detour. Before we finish, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment sharing whether someone has ever changed your life through a simple act of kindness. Your story may become the encouragement someone else desperately needs today. A year later, Callan and Brielle returned to the same hospital where they had reunited, not because of tragedy, but to dedicate a new emergency wing funded through Callan's foundation and designed with Brielle's guidance. As sunlight filled the entrance hall, they looked at one another with grateful smiles, knowing that what began with an accident had become a life built on compassion, forgiveness, and second chances. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Together, our community can continue proving that sometimes the people we thought we had lost forever are simply waiting for the right moment to find us again.